This might be a hot take, but we need to go back to the rule. If your skates are in the crease and you're making contact with a goalie, I don't care what it is, just to have some clarity to the rule, that's a no goal. What's up, and welcome back to the Crude Oil Podcast. It is the Jeff Delorier episode number 38. Sean, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, except, is there nobody better than Jeff Delorier for number 38?
No, there's four guys. That actually blew me away. Ian Fraser, Terrence Sandwith, Chris Ferraro, and Jeff Delorier, who wore it the longest tenured.
You know what? It's the Jeff Delorier episode because I don't really know any of those guys. So yeah, good for Jeff. He made the list.
That is a dark period in Oilers history. That 2009, 2010.
It wasn't great.
That's nuts. Yeah, let's dive into things here in a second, but we want to apologize. Life got in the way last week, and we looked at the schedule, and it was already Thursday at that point. We're like, we've got a couple more games. We'll get to it next week, and life goes on, and we're here. We got a lot to talk about here in episode 38. But just to recap before we get things going, I know last time we talked, they were heading into Boston, 3-2 win against the Bruins, that ugly 7-4 loss against the Leafs, 6-3 back at home against the Senators, 4-1 win against the Stars. We saw the Seattle afternoon win, 6-4 on Saturday, and we're recording it here on Tuesday, the 21st, coming off the heels of a 5-4 OT win against the Sharks. But yeah, let's just dive into things. Where do we want to start here? We've got a bunch of topics. Since we're just fresh in our minds, can we talk about the reviews and everything that was going on in the San Jose game last night?
I mean, how do you not at least be happy about it? Obviously, it was a bit of a shit show, but it was definitely in our favor last night, as much as you hate to see Hyman have another goal called back.
He's got to lead the NHL, in the most, per season.
Well, I believe he's had 7 goals called back, plus 2 goals that were called back that were immediately called back on the ice. So they weren't reviewed. Yeah. It was just on the ice, no goals. So that's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, just wild. Looking, there's 4 disallowed goals last night, reviews. 2 of them being goaltender interference calls. Where do you stand on the flow of the game and all these reviews? I get that the offside's kind of cool to go back and look, but I find they take a big flow out of the hockey game.
The goalie interference ones, I understand that. The offside ones, I think we talked about it before. I don't necessarily disagree with them, but they need to do them quickly. Luckily, these weren't ones where they're having to slow it down frame by frame to see if it's a millimeter offside. So it wasn't so bad. But overall, I still think that they should just have time limits on the offside ones. You watch it a couple times at full speed. If you can't tell if it's offside, then it's a good goal, because otherwise it's too close to tell.
Yeah. I know I saw the Gregor goal. Or the Gregor offside. I don't know if he scored, but I just seen his feet cross the line, and then they showed it once, and it's immediate. Don't even need to look at it a second time, offside. But I'm kind of with you. We need a time limit on these things. You get 3 looks at it. You can't make that decision. It's whatever the call was on the ice. The issues that I'm having with are the goaltender interference calls. This might be a hot take, but we need to go back to the rule. If your skates are in the crease and you're making contact with a goalie, I don't care what it is, just to have some clarity to the rule, that's a no goal. Any contact outside of the crease, fair game.
Yeah, I would have to say contact would have to be included with the in the crease, because I really haven't enjoyed, I think it's international, they have it that you're in the crease at all when the puck goes in, then it doesn't count. Or that's how the rule used to be.
Blow it down?
Yeah,
they blow it down as soon as you
they blow
enter the crease.
But that's how it used to be. I think that was the whole hubbub about, was it Buffaloes? Stanley Cup win in like game 7 or whatever.
Brett Hull's toe in the crease. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was the one that was like, it's fucking annoying. It's like, yeah, your toe's in the crease. Who gives a shit? But if you're in the crease touching the goalie in any way, then yeah, sure. Let's just call it back. If like they're going to call back any of those, like say, for example, the one on San Jose's goalie interference last night, like that one was almost to the point where I thought that it should have counted because it seemed like it was so minor, but it was still contact in the crease. So it just depends on how they decide to interpret the rule.
Are you talking about the goal that San Jose scored or the one that they challenged?
The one that they scored. I thought the one that they challenged against Hyman was fine because I said to my roommate when I was watching the game, I was like, if this was against Edmonton, I would be fuming right now if they counted this as a goal. Like, but my homerism was like, I hope they count it. Hyman really needs one of these.
I tend to agree with you there. The way I kind of saw it is as soon as the Oilers challenged, like it is kind of similar. I definitely agree that Hyman's interference, and I'm using air quotes here, was a little bit more egregious. But I figured it was just going to be kind of tit for tat. They're going to call one or call both, but not one or the other. That being said, like some of these, like I don't know if you caught the call on the ice, but he's like, after review is determined the goalie could not do his job. Like that's an interesting way of putting it.
You think they would have like a set like script they're supposed to say after? And I know they like to ham it up sometimes and build up the suspense. No kidding. It's like, we have determined that it is not goaltender interference. So you're like, what?
Yeah.
It really fucks with you.
You are not the father. Yeah, it's I don't know. They gotta revamp this rule here because there's just been too much like. There's the offsides. There's the redirection rules, like the kicking in motion. I think we need to take another look at the rules here and add some clarifications. But
yeah, it was just a little annoying that added 30 minutes onto the game. Like generally a game takes 2.5 to 2 hours 45 minutes to finish, and that one went till 10:30, so a full 3 hours. Yeah. So that was a little bit annoying to have to deal with, but what can you do? We still won, so
yeah.
I do have a question though to go along with these called back goals.
Sure.
Not counting, let's say, the interference one because it was interference. Jack Campbell technically let in 6 goals last night.
Fuck. Wasn't it 7?
Well, it would have been 7, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on the goaltender interference.
Okay.
So he let in 7, but that one probably he could have saved if he wasn't interfered with. But the offsides, like that's not really like a callback that is not on him.
It's tough. Like it's still a .902 save percentage. Like it's a bad night for him. I can only imagine it would be that much worse. I don't know, man. Okay, you had a question tied to that?
Well, yeah, my question was, well, first of all, the fact that he let in 6 goals and what you thought of that. And why does it seem like he can't make the big save? Like he did end up making big saves in overtime. I'll give him props there. But like every time Edmonton was either back in the game or got that lead, San Jose would just get a chance and score. And like I understand some of them, if not most of them, were because of defensive lapses. But he needs to make like 1 or 2 of those saves. Like you look at Reimer on the other side, he was making like 5 alarm saves back and forth and almost won San Jose the game single-handedly.
Yeah, it's a good question. I definitely had that in my notes. Like, although it was a win 5-4, he still gave up 7 goals. That being said, I don't know. I think part of it has to do with the fact he's a smaller goaltender. And if you look at a lot of the goals that were actually scored on him last night that counted, a lot of it was just stuff in traffic. I don't know if he has the same like visibility that, of goaltenders that we've had in the past. Like you have a Mike Smith who's big, you have Mikko Koskinen who's big. They obviously had their own issues in that, right? But I don't know. I'm kind of with you. Like you got to make that save. And I just, maybe visibility is a poor excuse, but still, like he's got to, he's got to make a save once in a while, and they just can't rely on him as a starting goaltender. Like that's not even a question in my mind right now that Stuart Skinner's got to get 80-90% of the starts.
Yeah,
Like I see
well,
maybe 3 more starts for Campbell, maybe.
maybe. Like I would say probably 2, just unless Skinner's getting tired and he wants some more time to focus on his game and practice and rest before playoffs. But I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I keep wanting to give Campbell the benefit of the doubt, and each game going into it, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. And then
Hmm.
he like lets in a goal in the first 2 minutes of the game. He makes a bad glove save because there seems to be a hole in his glove. There's just like he just keeps repeating the same mistakes, and that's more what my issue is. That he just can't seem to even like squeeze a good game in between these games. Like Toronto, was that the Toronto game that Campbell started, or was that
No, that was
not?
Skinner. That was
Okay.
Skinner. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just not great. He has not had a quality start in quite a while.
I think that was Skinner. Am I going crazy?
I think you're right.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like, you want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, but it's just, and I'm kind of I don't know. I think I'm loyal to a fault sometimes, at least with my patience with players. But if you're judging anyone on their job, if they mess up and they have like a bad streak, it's one thing. But this has been the whole season. This has been the narrative all year. Um, I honestly, Sean, I'd rather have Mikko Koskinen in net
Well,
as a backup.
I think we'd rather have either Smith or Koskinen in the net at this point, and like it's kind of unfortunate that people gave Koskinen and Smith so much shit in the past couple of years because they were exponentially better than Campbell has been thus far for us.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Before we lose sight of this San Jose game, it kind of just it stood out here. Matthias Ekholm has been an absolute stud since coming over. This is a story I'm never gonna get tired of talking about. Obviously 2 goals, and it's not like what you're expecting from him every single night. But in 10 games with Edmonton, 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points in 10 games played, plus 15. This is exactly what we needed at the deadline, and like it absolutely looks like a steal of a deal from the Oilers' perspective.
Well, I've seen some people still think that it was an overpayment, but I think they really don't realize what Ekholm has brought to the team. And with him coming to the team too, you can't undersell the fact that it's made Nurse more comfortable as well, where he plays in less pressured situations. I believe he's still playing against higher quality of competition, but I think it's just taking a little bit more pressure off of his shoulders, which based off of, I can't remember what analytics or whatever person it was, but they generally do a like contract comparison to based off of their play. So they're playing
Yeah.
like this level of defenseman. So
Yeah.
earlier in the year, Nurse was projected and playing as like a $3 million defenseman. So like an excess
Wow.
value of like $6.25 million, which is fucking
One
terrible.
third.
Yeah.
1/3 his contract.
And now he's apparently in the past, I think, quarter of the season, he's been playing at like a $8.7 million defenseman level. And
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
within like $500,000 of him is Ekholm as well as Bouchard.
Yeah.
So they're all
Yeah.
three are playing at like an $8 million defenseman level.
It's amazing what you can do when you especially can take those big minutes away. Like I'll be intrigued to see how they handle the minutes, especially well, and you can't really lose sight of it with Desharnais and what he's brought coming up as well. It's all kind of that same realm, but it is kind of taking those minutes, like you'd mentioned, away from Nurse. I'm going to be intrigued to see how they manage it in the playoffs, but I don't know. I do not know, but I just the team has a lot more confidence. Some of the little plays that I'm noticing with Ekholm's just it's new and it's showing confidence to a lot of these younger players on the back end.
Well, it's unbelievable what he's done for Bouchard, and it's giving you shades of Duncan Keith and what he was able to do for Bouchard last year. And the reason why Bouchard was projecting, I think, so well was playing with a stable veteran partner who brought a lot of leadership and direction to him. So when he makes that mistake, he's got a guy on the bench telling him what he did wrong and how he needs to improve and what he can do. And now he has that again with Ekholm, and I think Ekholm is an even better fit because he actually plays defense.
Very true. Very true. Speaking of playoffs, we've got some scenarios shaping up. I mean, it's not like the East where basically the well, look at the Atlantic that's basically been set in stone for the past like friggin' forever. Edmonton's kind of got their partners pared down to like 4 teams right now with the way things are shaking out. It looks like it could be either Vegas, LA, Seattle, Dallas, Colorado. Like we're kind of all within a couple points of each other. I see Seattle's kind of starting to come back to life. Come down to earth. I guess they were very much alive for the most of this season. But just curious, out of those teams I listed, who do you think is the best suitor for the Edmonton Oilers in the first round?
Well, in a perfect world, we would play against Seattle because I think Seattle has the worst goaltending of the bunch, the worst defenseman of the bunch, and maybe a lot of depth up front, but they don't have the star power up front. So they would be the team I'd most like to be matched up against. But in terms of teams I do not want to play, it's probably LA, actually.
Yeah. It's funny. You beat me to the punch. That was going to be my next question. I have LA and Dallas as my 2 big scaries. I wouldn't mind a matchup against Vegas. Seattle, obviously, I think would be the ideal partner. But I don't know what it is about LA this year. They're a young squad and they're just getting better.
Well, we played them in the playoffs last year. We know what they're capable of, and now they're better than they were previously. And I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about playing LA because one thing, I think their style matches up really well against Edmonton.
Yeah.
So it's just a little scary.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see this shake out here in the next couple weeks. Looking right now, the Edmonton Oilers sitting in 3rd place with 88 points, 11 games remaining. 4 points separating them between that and the top of the Western Conference, which goes back to my prediction at the start that they'd be number 1. I don't know. Like Vegas has been playing pretty good. Like they're 8-2 in their last 10, and LA's 8-0-2. Like some crazy records going on here in the Pacific Division.
Well, it's kind of ridiculous. All the top 6 teams right now in the West, Dallas, Colorado, Minnesota, Vegas, LA, and Edmonton, all of them are on relatively hot streaks. Like Dallas 7-3 in their last 10, Colorado 7-3, Minnesota 7-3, and then the entirety of the Pacific 8-2, 8-2, 8-2.
Yeah.
Like nobody's cooling off. The only team who's quote unquote cooling off is Seattle, and they're 6-3-1. And everybody else is, the only reason why Seattle's dropping is because everybody else is so hot right now that they can't keep up. Like a 6-3-1 in your last 10, that should be pretty solid for Seattle. And I think they've dropped 3 places in the standings in like the past 10 games.
I wonder how pissed off Vancouver fans are. It's fun to pick on them, but they're on an 8-2 run as well right now.
Well, it's like I don't know if it'd be fun to be a Vancouver fan. It's fun to be a fantasy guy with Elias Pettersson on my team. That's been pretty fun. But as a Vancouver fan wanting to win Bedard for the hometown boy, like you've got to be pretty disappointed with that. But at the same time, it gives them maybe some optimism for next year because their ownership refuses to rebuild anyway. So it doesn't really matter.
Yes. Hey, Sean, we got a lot of milestones to talk about. Lots that have happened, things that are on the verge of happening. It's insane to feel like we've been talking about a new milestone for this team every single week. Whether it was McDavid hitting 200-point milestones this season, or you know what I mean, Draisaitl getting his big milestone, Nuge as well, but Zach Hyman, for the first time in his career, nets his 30th goal of the season. Scored last night to make it 31. What's the realistic projection for Hyman? I mean, you add in the 9 goals that are whatever has been disallowed. Do you think Hyman will ever get to that 40-goal plateau?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I think this year will probably be his peak. And I only say that, I think he'll be consistent for the rest of his career. Don't get me wrong, but with Kane being healthy in this lineup full time, it does take away like some of the goals from everybody else because there's only so many goals to go around. I don't think like a full season of Kane means Edmonton would have 30 more goals than they do right now. They might have like 15 more goals, and then 15 of the goals from the other players would probably be moved to him or something like that. But yeah, I think this is the peak, but it's a really fucking good peak to be on right now. I'll say that much.
Yeah, definitely. I never even put 2 seconds of thought into the fact that Kane was gone for half the year. But yeah, it's very valid. It is nice though that you have a top line guy out of the lineup and you can have someone step up and produce the way he's been producing. So hopefully he continues this up. It's great to see. Great to see. Also on the cusp of things here, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins needs 14 points in 11 games to land his first 100-point season. Does he do it, Sean?
Yes.
Yes.
And sentence there.
End sentence?
Yes, he absolutely, I think, will get that. Like, the way this team is playing right now, the minutes that he's getting, and the way he's playing, like, I see no reason why he cannot get 14 points in 11 games.
Yeah, exactly. I keep imagining this in my head. I don't know if you remember McDavid's first ever 100-point season, when he they were on the power play trying to set him up for that 100 points, and like everything was getting fed his way. Same with a Draisaitl 50th goal of the season. I can just see this like Hyman out on a power play and he's getting like 18 touches in 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's going to end up happening. And like, assuming we're solidified in the playoffs in the last like 3 games of the year, let's say, like there's going to be 20 plus minutes a night for these guys trying to hit their milestones, like trying to give them that individual trophy. Not that any of those guys want those kind of things or care about those kind of things, but their teammates care. And that's the important part. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I might have said Hyman. I definitely meant Nuge, but my brain is all over the place. Yeah, on that topic with Nuge, congratulations. He is going to be a dad. I still feel like we were calling him Baby Nuge like 2 years ago. And look at this. Look at this.
Go from Baby Nuge to Daddy Nuge just like that?
No kidding. Was it Jay Woodcroft is like he just started shaving, now he's going to be a dad? Like, amazing. Finally, the last kind of milestone that is kind of sitting there. There's 3 Edmonton Oilers on the cusp of 300 goals in their NHL career. This being Kane, Draisaitl, and McDavid, respectively 299, 298, and 297. There's only been 2 instances in the NHL where teammates have scored their 300th goal in the same game. One of them being in Colorado when Smith was there, Ryan Smith with Milan Hajduk in the same game. Do you think there's a chance we can see all 3 in one game? Like, could you imagine that?
I would love to see it. Like, next game, for example, Draisaitl scores 1, McDavid scores 2, and then all 3 of them score 1 goal in the next game to all hit 300.
Yeah, that's realistic. I was thinking like 5-0, but there's no way in hell that's happening.
Well, I'd love to see like next game they all score like 1 goal for Kane, 2 for Draisaitl, and a hattie for McDavid. But let's be at least a little bit realistic here.
Yeah. Be nice to see. I think if we take it 1 game at a time, it'd be nice to see it all happen in the same game. But regardless, they're all going to hit it. I would think by the end of the season, no problem.
Oh, if they don't hit it by the end of the season, I will be incredibly disappointed, barring injury.
Very true. I want to go back to the Boston game. We didn't get a chance to discuss this, but what was your thoughts heading out of TD Garden after that performance, a 3-2 win?
I mean, how could you be disappointed in any way? Like, you go toe-to-toe with the best team in the league and come out with the W? Like, that's literally the only thing you really wanted, and I think it probably helped prove to the team that they are a legitimate cup contender if they can take on Boston.
Yeah. It is weird because it was kind of the start of a downfall. I think Boston lost 3 of their next 4, which is like nothing crazy for a normal team, but a team that only had 8 losses at that point in the season. It was really nice to show them that like the Oilers compete with that level of hockey club, and Yeah, I know we had chatted about coming out of that 3-run stretch, Boston, Toronto, Ottawa, hoping to get 2 out of 3. I obviously would have liked to beat Toronto, but that game was just a runaway. So I just wanted to recap that because I know that was my biggest wish list for the Oilers here towards the end of the year, is make sure that they're putting up points against teams that we know are going to be there in the end of the game here.
Well, like, I think one of the most important factors in the fact that they beat Boston is, well, A, they came back from 2-goal deficit, which Boston had not blown in like a year and a half, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely insane. And then on top of that, all 3 of the goals came from like depth guys or defensemen, which is mind-boggling. Like, they didn't need the big guys to step up and beat a team like Boston. Like, you think it'd be like Boston had. They had Marchand score, they had Pasternak score. So like, they're 2 big scorers. Like, I just love it. Our depth, like, that's one thing that we haven't really touched on too much, is our bottom 6 has been unbelievable in the past like 20 games.
Yeah. So I have to go back and apologize to Devon Shore. I was more critical of number 14 Devon Shore, but this new number 19 Devon Shore we've got on our team, holy shit.
Who knew new number, new player would be what's going on with him?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Our bottom 6 has been absolutely stacked. They're putting up points when we're not expecting to, and it's almost as if the narrative over the past couple of years was that if you can shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, you'll walk the Oilers easily. And I don't think that's the case anymore. And we see it in games like Boston, even to some extent, like against San Jose. It's just not a narrative that they can run with anymore.
Well, it's just great. Honestly, I'm so excited with the way that our bottom 6 is played. Like, outside of Devon Shore, Janmark, and Holloway, all the forwards have scored at least 10 goals. And I like to think like Holloway maybe could have got to 10 if he played the full season, and Shore probably wouldn't have, but Janmark's only 2 away. So, like, that's crazy to me. I did not expect especially the first half of the year where everybody just shit talked our bottom 6, and like Devon Shore, for example, like you were talking about. Like, oh, it's just fantastic. I don't even know what to say at this point. I've never been this excited for our bottom 6 in my life.
Well, it's funny. Like, if we were to have this same conversation and tell Greg and Sean, in November that Dylan Holloway wouldn't be playing on this team in the playoffs, and Klim Kostin, who's made a huge like push on this team, would be playing bottom 12 numbers, I think I would have told you you're absolutely kidding me.
Well, and I mean they've added one. The Holloway thing is because he's injured.
I still don't think he has if he's healthy, I still don't think he has a place on this lineup.
Well, now I don't think he does, because I think everybody else has played so well that now they don't really need to bring him up. If like, he'll probably be a black ace during the playoffs, but I doubt he will actually. Well, in a perfect world, our team plays well enough that he doesn't need to play.
But didn't he get sent down? He got sent down and got hurt in Bakersfield.
Yeah, so he got sent down as part of the when I think it was Kane or Yamamoto came back. So it was part of the cap crunch moves they had to make. And then he played in his first game. He got hurt, and then Desharnais got called back up when I think it was Kane then got hurt, because then they had space, but then they couldn't call up Holloway because he was injured.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I guess the cap crunch kind of sent him down there, but I still don't. Who knows what happens? I don't
agree. I don't think he's going to play when he comes back.
Yeah.
Or at least we shouldn't need him to come play.
Not a bad guy to have that if you need someone to step in that is available, though.
Oh, for sure. Because like at this point, I don't know who I would take out of the lineup to like put him in. Like, you're taking Kostin out, who would be extremely valuable against a bigger team like LA, for example. You take Janmark out, who his speed and his penalty killing has been invaluable this year. Like, who are you taking out? Maybe Devon Shore, but even like you said, he's been fantastic lately.
Yeah. Yep. Tie boat on the Edmonton Oilers schedule. We've got some smaller Oilers related stuff, and some other stuff I want to pose you with. I got a good question towards the end of this podcast here. But next week, Edmonton plays Arizona on Wednesday. Vegas Saturday. That's going to be a hell of a test. And then we're going to rinse and repeat on Monday and Tuesday with Arizona and Vegas. But those two are on the road. Realistic outcomes of the next week. John, your prediction?
Well, I'd like to win 3 out of 4. Well, preferably 4 out of 4. But 3 out of 4, preferably 2 games against Vegas, both wins. I think those are the most important ones. Like, if we go 1-1 against Arizona, I'm not going to be too bad. But if we lose a game to Vegas, I'm going to be upset. And especially if we lose both games.
Yes. I don't think I have a disagreement there at all. Other than the fact, like, it seems like when we lose to bad teams, we lose to bad teams badly. So hopefully, if it's 3 out of 4, it's a squeaker, but we'll see. I think Campbell gets that start on the Monday, but I don't think you'd start him for any other.
Happen. It's back to back, so that might be the last game that he gets this year. Like in theory, actually no. There's Tuesday and Wednesday in April of LA then Anaheim, so he'll probably get the game against Anaheim as well.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Some things that have been going on. Let's start with Slater Cuckoo. Unfortunately, taking time off this. I don't want to say unfortunately, because it should be kind of praise for him stepping up and stepping away from hockey just for the fact that it was to help with his mental health. And he kind of opened up on LinkedIn of all places with his reason to step away. It's kind of floated around social media, so I won't get into it too much. But he talks about his anxiety and how much it was getting to him to the point that he wasn't eating, the vicious cycle, not eating, not fueling your body, not being able to perform, and then, of course, getting the criticism, so anxiety, and on and on and on. Kudos to Slater Cuckoo for coming out and talking about it. It's just people forget that hockey players are people sometimes.
Well, that's for sure. There's been a lot of talk about Jack Campbell lately with like him potentially struggling with some mental blocks right now. And I think everybody has a lot of feeling for him, and obviously like thoughts go out to Cuckoo so he can get his mind straight and hopefully make a return to the NHL one day if he's taking a break like it seems as though he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. In other news, this is today, the Oilers signed Jake Chiasson to a 3-year entry-level contract. One of the standout players for me, and I nearly said spring training, in preseason. I think that was just a long time coming. It was interesting the timing of signing that, though.
Yeah, I just find it more funny because everybody sees that signing. They're like, "Did we sign Chiasson again?" It's like, no, different Chiasson. Don't get them mixed up. He's not signing his entry level contract.
All right. Okay. Announced today, the new Fanatics jerseys will be released 2024, 2025. They're the new partner that's taking over from Adidas. It's a 10-year contract. So it's like the third jersey provider that we've switched since 2007. What are your thoughts here initially? I have a very heated disagreement here.
I have 2 thoughts. One, I like the fact that it's 10 years because I'm so fucking tired of them changing constantly. It drives me insane. But 2, Fanatics is terrible. So this is going to be awful.
Thank you.
I can't wait for my next jersey I buy to fall apart in 6 months.
Fuck it. Terrible material. Their colors don't match the real jerseys. Did we mention that the jerseys fall apart? Their hats can't fit any normal sized head. This is going to be a train wreck. But I'm with you. At least it's 10 years. It sounds like they're not going to make any changes to the Adidas jerseys themselves for the first couple of years, so we won't have to worry too much. But I don't know. I did not see that coming. I was figuring maybe we'll get an Under Armour, maybe we'd get a new era, but Fanatics was not on my list there.
I'm curious, is there details as to how much this contract was for?
I was just looking and I was watching a um, Pete Blackburn video, and he was saying that the money is undisclosed. So we can only imagine it's building off of their e-commerce deal that they have. So millions and millions of dollars, I would bet.
I would imagine Fanatics would probably have to overpay a bit to become the partner. And let's look at another potential positive is that if they did have to overpay, then that could really help with increasing the salary cap. If it's worth as much as I would think that it might be.
That's a nice positive spin. That's a nice positive spin.
I mean, you gotta spin something positive about this deal because, God, I don't want to buy a jersey now for 10 years. I might go buy an Adidas jersey like today before it's too late.
Yeah, I like Adidas coming out with that idea for the reverse retros was genius. I don't know. I am scared we're gonna get some Walmart ass looking jerseys in the next 10 years, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's hope that they can bring some positive change to the jerseys when they do, but I don't know. I don't know. Okay, Sean, I have the last topic that I wanted to chat about. So if you have anything else, hold your peace afterwards.
I think I am good, so feel free to shoot your question.
Okay, I have a concept. I heard this on the Steve Dangle podcast. I think it's genius. Now, this will get rid of hopefully some of the issues that we're seeing with overtime. But it was brought up the idea of how we call it sudden death overtime. And if we make some alterations to get rid of the shootouts or what have you, if we go in and we change that concept to death overtime, that being said, you play your allotted time, say 5-10 minutes, whatever it is, 3-on-3. At the end of the period, if nobody scores after the 4 periods of hockey, both teams get 0 points.
So you're telling me that every team should go balls to the fucking wall because they don't want 0 points?
Could you imagine how crazy overtime would be?
I mean, that'd be pretty crazy, honestly. I still think I would prefer like a 3-point system where it's something like if overtime ends, then it goes to a tie, so you each get 1 point, so it's essentially the equivalent of a loss.
That's fair. Yeah, that would probably...
Yeah, it creates a similar system where some games are worth more than others, but then it might make the two teams play more balls to the wall for that extra point and not care too much if they lose, because if you tie, you lose. Regardless. Right. So you still get the same amount of points, so you better go balls to the wall and try to win.
Yeah, I could see how that mitigates that problem.
Yeah, I don't know about 0 points. I think that's a little aggressive.
Yeah, you tie, you lose, essentially. That's funny. I was actually doing some research based off of that and flipping through. Did you know that you can, in current NHL, like right now, you can lose in overtime and get 0 points?
You can lose in overtime and get 0 points.
Correct.
Please explain, because I do not understand how that could happen.
If you pull your goalie in overtime and you get scored on an empty net, you get 0 points.
Really?
Dead serious. It's happened twice. What's that?
I was going to say, like, if you pull your goalie in overtime, say on a delayed penalty, and it goes into your net because you pass into your own net, like, that would mean you would get 0 points?
I think it has to do with pulling your goalie like intentionally with even strength. So I think it might apply to that.
And this has happened before?
This has happened twice before. And so I was curious, I was like, what the hell happened? So the one instance, I think I saw this on TikTok or something. But Andy Murray, when he was coaching the LA Kings, both of them had to do with playoff implications. And so LA, this is the one example. I forget who they're playing. One of them was an Oilers game. But Andy Murray pulled his goalie in overtime because LA needed 2 points to qualify for playoffs. They got scored on, didn't make it, but that's why they pulled their goalie.
I was going to say, like, that's got to be the only reason I could think of why you would do that in the first place, is desperation to make the playoffs, because otherwise it's not worth it.
Yeah. Like, that's kind of, I mean, it's a ballsy move, but if you know that one point, like if you lose in overtime, like you're still not going to make playoffs, like why not try it?
Well, and it's like it's similar to pulling your goalie at the end of a regular game. And like just think of the idea of you're playing the last 5 minutes, you're down by 3 goals, like, but it's the last game of the season. You need to win in regulation or something. You're like, you're pulling your goalie at 5 minutes left. You do not give a fuck. And you leave that net empty for the rest of the game because you're just going to try to score. It doesn't even matter. They score another one. You leave the goalie out of the net. You keep going.
Yeah. It's weird because you'd be doing it in overtime, but yeah, that was a niche rule I did not know existed, but
well, I hope we don't have to experience that as an Oilers fan anytime soon.
But the more you know, the more you know.
So, say for example, sorry, there's one more thing I wanted to say. Say for example, you're Edmonton. You need the win to win the division. But get home ice advantage, or let's say win the conference. But if you lose, you get second, and you're in overtime. Do you pull the goalie to get the win?
I don't think so, because I think I'd rather still take first in my division rather than conference.
Well, I mean, it's first in the conference and the division.
Oh, okay. So otherwise, you move down into second.
Yeah.
I still don't think you do it because you'd still have home ice advantage. You'd be basically playing 2-3 seed as opposed to 1, whatever the second wild card
I guess it just depends on who you're gonna play. Like, say this same scenario is like Toronto and they can overtake Boston or something, so they go from having to play Tampa to having to play fucking the Islanders or something. I think you would go for it.
Hey, hang on. So right now, let's just theoretically say that the Oilers are on the cusp with Vegas or something. And it would be if you're playing for top position. Either you win and you play Winnipeg, or you lose and you have to play Vegas.
I would say make it Seattle instead of Winnipeg that I'm playing, and I would go for it. Not that I think Winnipeg will beat Edmonton, but I am still afraid of Connor Hellebuck to a degree. I just don't like good goalies. Goalies can steal series, and that's my fear.
I'm with you there. I am still shell-shocked from that 4-game sweep, so let's stay away from them for a little bit. All right, with that being said, we will be back here probably next Wednesday after the back. I hope you can call them back-to-backs against Arizona and Vegas. But the Oilers will have 2 at home, 2 on the road, and we'll get a clearer picture of this playoff scenario.